Welcome back to Strength Cultures Podcast. Number 1 in the hearts, number 1 in the charts. Huge episode today, massive. We have Angus Bradley back, second time.
What's going on, guys? I thought technically this doesn't count as a guest slot. I'm official co-host today, right?
You are co-host. And please take the reins if at any point you want to take the reins.
Oh, I'm going to treat this like my home podcast. You don't worry about
that. Love that. And then we have Jordan Shallow, the muscle doc, who I call the new age strength coach goat of the industry. Because you're making waves and you're training some cool people that we want to discuss. But how are you?
Good, man. That's a hell of an introduction. I can only disappoint.
Nah. You'll be fine.
I see this dynamic like Kevin Eubanks and Jay Leno. I'm just trying to figure out which one's which.
No, but even just the way you introed him inspired me because I know you look up to Derek Woodski the same way I do. And like one of the things that to me was so crazy about Derek is he shattered the mold for personal trainers. Like he was out training rock stars, like the singer of the Zac Brown band, being like their S&C coach on the road. And it's like, you're now the guy who's doing all this crazy stuff and like you're on that level.
Terrifying.
You're inspiring the next generation.
Terrifying.
Although we're probably the same generation, let's be honest.
Yeah, I've just aged really poorly because I live at airports.
You just work at a different level. You're advancing ages while we're just going in days because you're working that hard, burning the boats.
Trying, man. Trying. We're out here making it happen.
It's cool. So what are you doing in not Melbourne? We're in Queensland, aren't we? Sorry, my head's still in Melbourne.
Live on location.
I'm that stimmed up. I'll just put it out there. I've had about 20 different stimulants in this little trek that we've done up in Queensland. But what are you doing in Queensland?
2 seminar weekends back-to-back at Nexus Performance. So we just wrapped the first one. Next one, Saturday, Sunday. I'm back up playing Monday.
Very nice. How was the first one?
Good. Yeah, sold out. Awesome fucking crowd all over Australia. A couple flew in from Tassie. A couple flew in from New Zealand. So good turnout.
You made a post yesterday saying that Australia has a special place in your heart and your development.
Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
So I met Emad.
Shouts out Emad.
Shouts out Emad. Go to goats.
He's
King
a goat.
Of Kings.
He's a goat.
At Boss of Bosses, I used to work at a powerlifting gym in California called Boss Barbell Club, owned by Dan Green. If you guys are not into fitness, some of those you will know who Dan is. And I met Emad at a meet where he was competing on the pro day at Boss of Bosses. And I was a little bit confused because there was the likes of Kevin Oak, Andre Milanichev, Dan Green, Jeremy Hamilton. And then there was Emad. And Marcos' son, Max Markopoulos was also competing. And I was like, 2 of these ones are not like the other one. And then the top of this massive sign behind the platform, it said Dame Group presents Boss of Bosses 2. Never, there's a bunch of sponsors on there I didn't know. So I was like, whatever. But that was it was a title sponsor. Sure enough, Dan comes up to me. He's like, hey, there's a friend of mine. His name's Emad. He can never get through a powerlifting meet without cramping up. He always has to back out. But he's competing on the pro day. Can you help him out? I was like, sure. I'm like second year chiropractic college, maybe if that. And I was like, I'm sure I'll try to do what I can. Lightning strikes for some reason. He doesn't cramp up. I'm sure it had nothing to do with anything I did on the day. But he came up to me. He's like, hey, man, I really appreciate it. It's been a long time since I got through a platform. Told me a little bit some of his injuries, like broken humerus and all this crazy shit, like spiral fractures. Wild.
You were saying he snapped his arm doing a bench press.
Squat.
Was that you? No, that was
He benched it doing a squat.
He snapped his arm.
I think he's done it twice. That time he'd done it twice. So it was like, oh, cool. Like you could tell like it meant a lot to him. I was like, yeah, sick, man. No idea who he was. I wasn't even into powerlifting then.
Yeah.
And then fast forward like a year or 2 later, I got into it. And sure enough, I get an email or a Facebook message from Marcos and said that Emad had talked to him about me and then I'd had a decent enough total. But because I sort of met him and helped him out without really knowing who he was like, that's the kind of people we want over. And when I went over to do my first Pro Raw, I was offered to do my first seminar. And I did one at Frankston, PTC Frankston, PTC South Melbourne.
Yeah.
So Melbourne has actually the special place in my heart. My first 2 seminars were in Melbourne.
Nice.
And I've been in. My sister lives in Townsville. My ex-wife is from the South Coast, so I got married down in Dalmeny. Most places.
Oh wow,
people,
you're in it.
I'm in it. Yeah. So I have like I would say. Not boasting, but I've probably been to more of Australia than most Australians. Like I've done whole East Coast, South Coast, Adelaide, Perth, everything. Yep. So yeah, being Canadian, Australia is just like Canada with better weather. So yeah, it's been nice to be back. Like it's probably been 2 years since I've been here, and that's the longest since I started coming that I've ever been away. Every 6 months I drift through.
I think I first bumped into you personally was with Ben Pekulski's seminars.
Yeah.
Yeah, the BPAC.
That would have been, we would have done that at Doherty's. we did one at Doherty's and we did one at Kingdom.
Yeah, I didn't come to the physical day. I just did the theory day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Did it already start shifting away from that athlete identity already back then? Or?
Nah, I think you actually gave me a discounted ticket to the first day, but not the second day. So I just did the first day.
I don't know. I was not an authority, as still the case. I'm not an authority to make any of those decisions. So,
but it was a great day. And then I also with Luke Tulloch, and then you did the seminar with us at Melbourne Strength Culture.
Yeah, that was wild. That was an inflection point for us.
Yeah,
that was crazy. That trip was something that if I look back on what's been going on the last 4 or 5 years, that weekend hybrid with Luke Tulloch, that was a special one for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You've definitely taken things up a little bit. And I'm sure you've actually just done a podcast with Kyle Trainer, which I'm sure you probably discussed all of it. But for those who don't know, Jordan runs PreScript, which is a full education, but now there's all the talk about software and all this other stuff. So big evolution, which has been cool to see, and it motivates me for sure. I see what you guys are doing, and it's like, this is fucking, if you work hard enough, we can get to something like this within our own flavor.
Before, like being at the point where your education program is something that gets mentioned in the bios of coaches, and it's like a boasting point now.
Dude, wild.
You're gonna have it's gonna be a point where people start complaining about it. Like when it gets that big.
Yeah, I mean that's the natural iteration of things. It's nothing. And I even say at the beginning, like, I don't give a shit if you put it in your email signature. Like, I'm not one for initials. Like, I've frankly never been to a seminar in my life. Chiropractors are famous for having like this fucking alphabet soup after the name. I was like, worry about the integrity of the name before all the initials. If we can do that for 4 months and learn a little bit about lifting weights, like, I'd much prefer that out in the world than the current state of chaos in the fitness industry. So like, to see it and people still double down and like look at it as a point of pride is wild. It is something that we want to develop opportunities for people that take that choose to take our educational courses. We want it to be an accelerant for the career. So, and we've had that a few times where people are like, hey, I got this job because I have this on my resume.
Opens doors and yeah.
And the nice part about being everywhere is like, oh, who runs that? We have a few Major League Baseball. Like, oh, who runs that program? Oh yeah, I know that guy. I met him at a gym once, and that was literally the connection.
Yeah.
So yeah, it means a lot. It's never anything that we didn't have a plan. We don't have a plan. Someone talks to me like, oh, can you look over my business plans? Me? Why? Like, are you joking? Like, so it is cool to see that manifest in that way, but it was by no means premeditated.
I love that because we have the same process. We've got a few checkpoints that we want to hit, but we have no idea how it's going to work, and just head down, run through the wall, burn the boats, as you say.
Fucking, just the other day I got the 6th person, and since I've got this tattoo, send me a picture of their new tattoo.
Yeah.
And with that on it, I was like, the internet is just terrifying. I should not have a level of...
You're an influencer, mate. You're an influencer.
Is that what it is?
That's all your hard work.
So hold on.
All of your hard work.
A tattoo that you get that someone else then gets an iteration of makes you... That's like the...
That's it.
That's just the collective forming into a mirror and just reflecting you back to yourself.
So when do I get my sweepstakes check? When do they bring that giant check?
I don't know. You need to find a sheik out in Dubai or whatever.
Working on it, man. Yeah. I'm really hoping one goes down with a shoulder injury. I'll be sweet ass.
But one of the things I'm more curious about is like the development of this PreScript thing has been so frantic and it has been so fast paced. And I see you posted on your story, burning boats every morning at 4 a.m., going to bed well after midnight. Do you have to consciously set aside time to be like, I need to remove myself from this thing, being this like operator of the business, to sort out the vision side of it? Or does that just come naturally and you haven't really had to consciously think like, where am I taking this thing in a couple of years?
I don't think it's ever been conscious. Like it is part of the day-to-day stuff. Like I think being so distracted in creating content, and distracted might be the wrong word, but like being so distracted in creating content or delivering content, writing course material, writing books, it almost like frees up that frontal cortex to start to operate at higher levels of decision making. So it's like I'll just like wake up, and I don't set alarms. And that's the thing, like, don't wake up early because I wake up. I feel like I feel like blood is on my head.
Stop getting tattoos. Stop burning boats.
But it's like it's not anxiety, but like it's good stress that wakes me up, and it's literally that. Like I'll work a decent amount of my day on things that are, just writing. Like I sit there and write, And then I'll go to bed, and as I'm sleeping, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I think what we should do is this. And then I'll message Jordan, and then we start putting things into motion and like getting it to the rest of our team and establishing the workflow to get from A to B and all that stuff. But no, the idea of like sitting down and be like, this is the time where I'm going to, even when I remove myself and like go on vacation, it's not vacation, I just work in this place now. It's all it is.
Just interrupting this podcast for a word from our sponsor, which today is us. We've paid big bucks for this segment, so you better listen good. Powerlifting is back for us in Australia, especially for in Victoria. We've been through a tough 2 years, and I've been loving it. I've been loving coaching at comps. The community as a whole is back, and the strength culture team has been showing up in a big way. If you'd like to get started in a powerlifting comp, we're here to help. If you'd like to get started, DM one of the coaches or head to the first link in the bio, and we can get you there.
I wanted to touch on that, and we discussed it loosely off air, but you had a stint in Miami, and then someone I absolutely love and has influenced our version of what we do with the podcast. We're starting very formal here, and I reckon it's going to get into a shit show, but Andrew Schulz, Flagrant, the whole team and how they operate inspires the fuck out of me and what we're doing with the potty. But I just think they're amazing. And then randomly one day I wake up and you were tagged. I don't know if you were in a house or maybe they spoke about you. And he kept calling you shallows. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, there's no way these two worlds have combined and fucking slapped hands or the fucking whatever it's called. But how the hell did you start training Andrew Schulz,
Okay.
man?
So it's really funny. During COVID, I don't do well with rules, and Canada got crazy quick. So I was living in Toronto at the time, like close to our studio, and I was finally at a point where like, yo, I'm gonna chill for a bit. Like I've been on the road for like damn near 4 years at that point. Got myself like a condo and a car and a kind of commute. I would like drive into the studio. So we had like our podcast studio, and I would train. Life was simple, like so simple. And then Canadian lockdowns, whatever happened, and it wasn't really conducive with my way of life. There was curfews, and someone got arrested or fined for being in a car with someone else that was from a different household. And I was like, and I have some friends down in Miami.
It's crazy that was actually happening in the world.
Wild.
Same, as you said, Canada and Australia is very similar.
I
Same thing was happening
PTSD.
here.
I was back in lockdown for a second mentally.
I'm already stimmed enough.
I just feel like we just woke up from like a drunken, like we all just did like a 2-year bender. We just snapped out of it like, oh, I got to go back to work. This is crazy. So I literally remember the day I read a news story that someone had been fined $800. 2 people had been fined for being in a car from different households. I'm like, this is insane. Because it's like, I'll get in trouble breaking a fake law, but then I'll break a real one by like punching a cop in the face or something. So I was like, I got to get out of here just for my own personal sanity. So the next day I booked a flight to Miami, just a one-way, and I called my friend. I'm like, yo, I'm coming to sleep on your couch. And so I was just living down there, just kind of hanging out, doing my thing. And one day my buddy Hayden comes home. I was staying with him, and he's like, yo, you're not going to believe who I saw at Vice, this coffee shop that we go to. I was like, who? And he shows me this, and I'll send you the video if I can find it. He shows me this video of 4 guys looking at his new bike. He had a really cool like cafe, like speedster kind of BMW.
Yeah, he rides a few.
They got the sexy bikes.
Yeah, sick as. So he shows me this video, and he's, he works on the internet like us. So he's sitting in the coffee shop just doing hipster shit, and then he's filming these guys because he's like brand new bike. Literally, the dude dropped it off the night before, and so he's a little bit like hypersensitive around it. So he's videoing these 4 guys outside of Vice. And he's so focused on just the state of his motorcycle that he doesn't realize in the moment that the 4 guys are Schulz, Gags, Akash, and Dove. So they come in, and he's got his helmet there, and they actually start talking to him about it. So they start talking about the bike, like what year it is and all that, and the modifications, and like, oh, cool, whatever. And he knows who they are, but in the moment is not processing that like Schulz and Gag and Akash and Dove are talking to him about it. So they just leave. And he's like, oh, like, what the fuck? Because he owns the gym in Miami, like, and it's not far. It was down the street. And he's like, oh, man, like, what the hell? Like, what a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I was like, I got you. Here, airdrop me the video. I'll pretend like I was sitting somewhere nearby or in the bathroom or whatever, and I'll just tag them and you in it. And I'll be like, oh, like and I made sure I got all the accounts, like the Flagrant 2 boys in Miami scoping at Hayden Bowe's bike, at Akash, at Andrew Schulz, at Dove, at Mark Gagnon. And I posted that in my story thinking like, oh, like, hey, that's the bike guy we talked to. Oh, wow, he's got like a following at a gym. That's cool. So I just did it to connect them. And then maybe 20 minutes later, Schulz messaged me, is like, yo, I need a personal trainer. Let's go. Like, hand to God.
I was waiting for another 15 minutes to get to that.
No,
point.
that was it. He just like literally slid into my DM. I'll pull it up and I'll send it to you if I can still find it.
Man, being jacked as a personal I know you're not a personal trainer,
No,
but just
it's
when you're not
whatever it is.
jacked,
No,
that
we're all
doesn't happen.
personal trainers. Let's fuck the labels. We're all personal trainers at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
Surely it's the blue check. The blue check gets you
That
through the
had
door.
to make him feel safe.
I don't know what did it, but that coming Monday, he was in the gym and I was just kind of laying it out for him and we had a chat and then we just moved forward from there. But the crazy thing was, independent to any of them knowing, Akash messaged me. Same thing.
Oh, really?
But without knowing that Schulz had messaged me. Independent to Akash or Schulz knowing, Mark messaged me. He said he had like issues with his back. And I was like, I just meant to do this to like plug in my homie with like these guys because like they got podcasts and all, like they're local. I'm just some guy living on a fucking couch. And then one day I had Schulz come in, train 8 to 9 on a Monday, and then Akash come in right after 9 to 10, and then Mark come in after for me to take a, and we ended up training after as well. So that was my day, and then I would go up to HOA, and they all sort of had like this Spider-Man moment where they were just like, wait, you too? So I thought for sure Schulz was like, yo, I got this guy. Like, he's down for the cause. Like,
Teed him up.
Yeah. But no, it was all completely independent. And then we just started like hanging out after and went to Akash's wedding and went to Schultz's birthday and all that stuff. So it was, it was just so random how it came to be. Like, it was by no means my intention. Like, at the time, it was just really training. I would literally go from training Schulz, Akash, Mark, get in my car, drive 40 minutes to Weston, and then train like
House of Athletes. Well, you said it, HOA.
Yeah.
You sort of skimmed over it. Before we get off the topic and move to the next part, though, what is Andrew like in the gym?
So, yeah, Schulz just wants to get out. And this is my interpretation of it. He just wants to get out of his own head. He's a workhorse. Yeah. Like, Mark, very technical. Like, we just talked on the phone for like an hour about his next training block. It's like, dude, you're a stand-up comedian. Like, let's not get it. But he's put on like a good 20, 25 pounds. Like, he's getting big. So he's very like analytical, very technical. Akash, very the same. Like, likes to know the ins and outs. Where Schulz, in getting to know him about like how he like approaches the craft of stand-up comedy, is that way with stand-up comedy. Very analytical, very technical. Like, this guy, you think I'm up early, late nights, all that. That's Schulz to a T. But in the gym, he doesn't want, just go, all gas. Like, he wants to be laying on the ground short of breath, and that's it. Yeah. So it took like a session to kind of realize that. Is like,
so he wants to be flogged. Just flogged.
That's it. Like, he's a Barry Bootcamp kind of guy. No, legit. That would be like an argument I would have with him.
Such a good diss.
It's not. He would literally go there. Like, he's like, yeah, and he would like kind of hide it. Like, I'm like, did you go to Barry's? He's like. And he would just look the other way, but he just likes to be like he just honestly just loves the work.
Barry's is just an F45 that didn't pay its power bill. It's F45.
I don't know. I think it's still got its. I think it's got some run in it.
And with hotter people.
Oh, really? Fair enough.
100%.
But then you skimmed over it. HOA, House of Athlete.
Yeah.
Obviously a podcast, a gym, a monster of a cultural sort of sports. It's all connected in there.
Yeah.
Were you working there? Yeah. Is that how? Yeah, you were like a fly-in.
So what ended up happening was I worked with a very prominent household name athlete. Just won a Super Bowl. Not going to like give it too much of away. After an injury he'd sustained years ago, and established a good relationship with him. Whatever. Time goes by, I end up in Miami. Shoots me a message. This player used to play with the owner of House of Athlete, Brandon Marshall, when they were playing in New York. And he just shoots me a message like, hey, you're in New York. You should go check out my buddy's gym. It's up in Weston, like 45 minutes out. I'm like, all right. Like, I love new gyms and stuff. And I look it up. I'm like, oh, this is like kind of interesting. Like, the lights are really low. Yeah, it's fucking cool,
it's mad.
man. It is so cool. So I just started like training there. I would just go in. And I didn't know this at the time, and I've since learned. The hours I was going, it was actually not okay for me to be there. But everyone at the front desk thought I played in the NFL, so no one said anything.
Straight in.
Like, it was literally between the hours of, I want to say it was between the hours of like 8 o'clock to like 1 o'clock during this time I was there was preparation for the NFL season or something like that. And so all the guys there, and at the time, I don't know anything about American football. I know a little bit, but like, someone was like, I'm a slot safety. I was like, cool. I have no idea. Like, I've got to do my set. And so I was just there every day training, but no one really knew who I was. And so it kind of became like a little bit of a thing of like, who's like, because it was all team, right? It was all group training. Guys from different teams would come in. They have like their pro coaching staff that was there. And they would be working out in like groups of 3 or 4. They'd track sessions. One group would go to the track. The other would switch back in the gym. And then there was just this like polar bear just fucking sitting in the middle of the floor just doing bench press. Everyone's jumping in plyos and A-cell drills. And I'm just sitting there catching a sick pump. And one day I go to leave, and then Brandon, who I hadn't met at the time, was like, all right, I'll see you later, big guy. I'm like, you gotta be a little bit more specific in a room where there's like Akeem Hicks, who at the time was like, 340 playing with the Bears. So big guy's not, I don't have an ego enough to be like, oh, what does that mean? Am I the big guy? Yeah. And so I just kind of turned, and like B's like 6'4", 240, runs a 4.4 flat, like a monster of a human being. And I'm just like, and I just ducked him, and I walked out the door, and I came in the next day, and I was like, I knew who he was, obviously. And I was like, hey, man, I just want to apologize. It may seem like a ghost. I didn't think you were talking to me. And he's like, oh, like your name's player that I used to work with.
Yeah.
This guy. And I was like, yeah. Like, what's going on? And then we just started talking. And from there, we started working together. I worked with him, just getting him back in shape, potentially returning to the league at the time. Didn't end up coming through. And just started talking on the business end of things. And, there was a clinic portion, like an athletic training, physical therapy clinic there that was an integrated vertical, and talking about his vision with the company and stuff. And I came back for the combine preparation for the NCAA kids who were touted to go into the draft for that year. And so I helped with the medical side there. And then I came back again for another NFL offseason, and again for a combine, and just recently had returned from another offseason prep. So I've been coming in to HOA twice a year to just work with preseason veterans returning to the NFL and to prepare sort of this 6 to 8 week sprint of guys coming out of the NCAA going into
getting ready,
the combine in Indianapolis. Yeah.
Is this how the Shaq thing happened?
Yeah. So it's just like, you just laugh, right? You just laugh. Like, I was like, okay, whatever.
Next?
It's funny. My business partner, Jordan, we had like a weekly call, but I had this like all hands staff meeting. But I was also training this guy, AJ Rogers, who plays for the Green Bay Packers. He was going into his rookie season. We'd worked with him in combine, got drafted, real great prospect. So I was working with him one-on-one. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to be late for this all-hands meeting. I was like, yo, AJ, do me a favor. Like, let's just duck out the back. So I cut him out the side door, and I go up this back staircase, which is like, we have this big, like, mezzanine-style balcony seating. It's like the whole front of the lobby of the gym. And the all-hands meeting was on those stairs. I was like, fuck, I'm like the contractor. I'm like kind of like, no one really knows what I am. I just kind of do stuff and get paid and leave. Yeah. But it's like, I don't want to not be seen as like a company guy. So I'm like, fuck, okay, I'll like come up the back of the staircase behind the meeting, because like at the foot of this like stadium seating was where the B and some of the managers were kind of just conducting business, and the rest of the people were sitting up in the stairs. And I was like, okay, I'll sneak in the back, maybe they don't see me. And so lucky that as I just opened the door to sneak down the back of the stairs into like this auditorium seating, Shaquille O'Neal walks right in the front door. And it's like, he's just, you can't fathom. Like, it's funny that like after I trained him the first time, I went and grabbed some plyo boxes. And I kind of measured, like I'm like 6 foot-ish. And I was like, okay, how much more do I need to be 7'3"? And I just stood there for a bit in the gym. I'm like, this is wild right now. So Shaq walked in the front door, and the meeting was kind of over. And he just like unannounced. Like just walked in middle of the day. It was like 12:30. And it was just such a presence. So like meeting just kind of informally ended, and like there's 40, 50 people and stuff. So we all started like dissipated into little pools, and then Brandon went up and talked to Shaq, and I was just kind of talking to some of the medical staff about like what we were doing, and may have talked about like, anyways, what AJ was doing. And I have no business in that conversation, right? Sure. Like, what? Hi, how are you? And sure enough, I hear my name, and it's Brandon. It's like, Joe Jordan, come here. And I think there's someone else on staff named Jordan, or at least I convinced myself, because there's no fucking way he's talking to me.
Again, it can't be me.
And then like the person I was talking to was like, he's talking to you. And I was like, oh boy. So I just walk over and just, you meet someone for the first time, you shake their hand. Like, hi, I'm Jordan. And he goes, my name is Shaquille. And I was like, are you fucking joking me right now? Like, yeah, dude, I got it. And then B's like, he has a shoulder injury. I'm wondering if you could help him out. And I was like, yeah, man, like for sure. Like what's going on? And we can do this today if you're busy. get my number from B and we can set up a time. And he's like, I got thrown through a table. I was like, what the fuck do you mean you got thrown? I was on Monday Night Raw. And I was like, what? And my brain is just melting at this point. I'm like, all right, if I wasn't kind of sure life was a simulation before, but I was like, there's some sort of cheat code or some sort of rabbit hole I fall. And he continues to tell me about how he got thrown through this table at WWE Monday Night Raw. And I'm just
Who threw him through a table?
I don't know, Big Show. I honestly think it was the Big Show.
Big Show.
And I was like, my brain was just like, we're getting out of here. So like, my feet started moving together. I was like, you know what? Yeah, for sure, man. Like, just do what you got to do. Get my number from B. Whenever you're around, we'll make it happen. We'll straighten you out. No issues. And it was in denial as I think I left my computer. I just walked out the door.
Sometimes you just need space.
I'm out, right?
Like too much.
Just go out the front and vomit.
And I get on the phone with Jordan, my business partner. We had like a weekly, just kind of bi-weekly call, and I'm like on Google, whatever Meets or Teams, whatever the fuck we use. And I'm like 2 blocks away, and I get a phone call. Some Midwest number. I was like, okay, whatever. Ignore it. I'm on this call. And then I get a text message from that number, and it's the gym manager. Her name was Anna, and she goes, please answer your phone. It's Anna from the gym. I was like, Jay, give me 1 second. Call the number back, and she's like, Shaq has requested your presence. Oh. And I was like, okay. So I just flipped the bitch and started going back, and I hung up, and I called Jay back. I was like, hey, man, I don't know how to say this, but I got to go meet Shaquille O'Neal right now. And he's like, bullshit, stay on the phone.
Just running back?
No, I literally had to stay on the Google Meet call
as
I went in
and
just be like, okay, and then as he saw him, I just saw his face and he acknowledged it, and I just hung up. And he's just like, you're going to be my trainer. And I was like, okay. And he grabbed my phone and he saved his contact in my cell phone is Shaq, my new bodybuilder client. And that's what he like wrote himself in as.
Of course he did.
And then, we just started training from there, and he's
So you're still training?
Oh, no. It was just the summer.
Yeah.
But as a fitness professional, and like over the last year, I've knocked off so many achievements, but then I go to hang out with my non-fitness friends. I'm like, how do I explain any of this to them? And as a fitness operator, to have something like that you can just call anyone in your phone book, be like, I need to explain to you what happened to me today. And for them to understand why it's special, not like, oh, it's just this guy and the way he does bicep curls is really, really cool. And it's like, yeah, whatever, man. Be like, I trained Shaquille O'Neal. And everyone's like,
yeah, it was wild. Like, obviously grew up, I mean, not obviously, but I grew up watching a bit of basketball, especially that era of basketball was so unique. And he's, on the personal side, he is the most interesting, funny, just nonstop. Every word out of that guy's mouth is insane. Every story, insane.
His Hall of Fame acceptance speech is probably my favorite speech of all time.
He's an orator. He's an orator of our day.
To be that funny and that athletic,
just charismatic, man. Yeah. It's just a charismatic man.
Yeah. He's a brand. Like, he's as recognizable as Coca-Cola. Like, one day I was like, hey man, how's your Friday look? And he's like, I kind of got like this thing in the morning. I was like, yeah, dude, no worries. We can move stuff around. He's like, yeah, it's with Reebok. I kind of own the company, so it'll be fine. I was like, I've never had a client be able to say that. So yeah, he's cool, man. Like,
did you do any manual work on him?
Yeah.
What's a 7'3" shoulder / rib / whatever?
You know what? The nice thing in getting, like, my first patient in clinical practice was Dan Green. So I kind of have like he was by far the tallest patient I've ever had. Without going into too much HIPAA detail, but I mean, we did post it on social media, so I feel like that's some sort of limits liability a little bit. But yeah, like it wasn't too bad because of powerlifting. Like Derek Kendall, I don't know if some of you more diehard powerlifters might know Derek Kendall. Derek Kendall was like 6'10", 400. Yeah. So not the most unworkable, but just a body who went through that game for that long at that level at that size. It's definitely a different presentation than anything you'd ever seen in your entire life. Like just across the board training and whatever ancillary stuff. Like it's almost as if he should be taxonomized as a different animal.
Especially
right?
seeing Zion Williamson, who we're like, is this the second coming of Shaq? But then you see the rope, like the body can't handle it.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough for that size. It's funny on Zion. Have you seen the video of him doing a layup and the floorboard underneath him bows in the hardwood? Like it's crazy. They're just different beasts over there.
I mean, even him though, like you got to think at his heaviest when we started, he was I mean, he's always 7'3", so he's 7'3", 420. And then but it's like, well, how old is he?
Shaq?
Yeah, like he's in his 50s, right? Yeah. Easily. And it's that itself is the impressive part, right? Like he got down to 380 in the time together, and he was, like had like abs at 380. That's like, it was wild, but just such a ridiculous experience just to be able to like just be in a room and the stories, like fuck the reps and sets, man.
Yeah.
Like,
no, because that you brought it up just as I was starting to go there mentally though. Yeah. Like, sure, because I know that he's not trying to make like get into lifetime best shape necessarily, but surely he just accumulates 20s on the bar.
Oh, the thing is, most setups, most equipment's out. What is a bar?
Can he fit inside a trap bar?
It's so true.
No. You know how creative you got to be? Like, that's the thing. Well, that's where, like, having principles, like, to drive your decision-making process is so useful. Because when one of those shows up at your door, everything you thought you knew and did and know doesn't work, right? So, like, you have to be, like, infinitely creative and just look at, like, okay, there's a problem that needs solving. I just need this guy to be able to move efficiently for an hour. And that's when you just start to be like, okay, what is this? Like, where is this weight pulling? How can I just make things fit this task rather than getting functionally fixed on what that task is supposed to be for someone that fits a certain height, weight category? Because he's none of those things.
Yeah. Did you align his fibers up?
Oh, man, line and pull were clean. Clean, bro. Yeah, no, isolated to the max. He was catching sick pumps.
Yeah, 100%.
But he would, like, make me, like, I have videos on my phone of him, like, doing bicep curls and stuff. And he would just, like, make me take videos and send it to him. So he could, like, send it to other people. He's the fucking best, man. It was so much fun.
That's actually incredible. You've got to pinch yourself at some point. Have you?
Every day of my life. What is it? What are we doing?
Like he said, it's been since day dot. And like was with Dan Green being one of your first patients, which I don't know, like that in some respects is probably a decent one of your early clients to perform manual therapy on because you're like, there's the muscle.
Yeah. Oh, dude. It was kind of in a way that like people in baseball sit in the batter's box and swing 3 bats. Like I was simultaneously the chiropractor at Apple working with software engineers and running my own practice. And Dan Green was like a guy I would see 2-3 times a week. So it's like, if you can feel things on Dan, like I could fucking put my hand on someone's knee and feel their heartbeat, right? Because it's just like, this guy's 140 pounds and he just writes in fucking Python or Ruby Red all day. It's like, this guy is 280 pounds in the off season. And he's like the most dense human being physically you've ever seen in your entire life. So it wasn't a unique learning experience to just be with someone that was like just so much mass, like lifting up a leg, doing some sort of passive manual mobilization or soft tissue work. It's like that's no novel feat. That in itself was like, okay, like I'll just work with this guy because he can with one hand pick up my 34-inch quad. I was like, all right. But yeah, it posed its challenges out of the gate. It was like a really steep learning curve. But also like on this, like I knew who Dan was when I was working with him too, right? So like that was also kind of difficult to like fight that, like ask him a bajillion questions, be a weird fanboy kind of thing, or like trying to be a professional. Yeah. So that was also a skill that's sort of like incrementally been sharpened over the years because like you can't fanboy with Shaquille O'Neal because he'll just fucking
he'll just leave.
Yeah.
Weird, yeah. He doesn't want that. None of them would want that. I would assume.
Yeah, you got to like be in his space though. That was the thing of like you got to get into his fucking breadbasket, that guy, just to keep it. So I'm like nose to chest with this guy, like just trying to. But you got to be that with people who are type A high achievers across the board. But that was the most like, oh shit, like this thing is fucking huge. But,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's cool. And I think there was a few moments there where I was like, nah, Jordan's on another level. And that circles all the way back around to the start of the conversation. You are the new age GOAT.
I'm just trying to figure shit out. Like I'm running around scared across the world, just trying to just figure
the nomad,
it out.
the great nomad.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a base now?
I'm moving to the States.
Ah,
yeah, base is probably done. 6 months.
You got a cat.
The cat can fit in a bag and can go to the States. That's not an impedance to me living my life. I've been in Dubai all year. My mail has been forwarded to Dubai, and I pick it up when I'm in town.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll probably move to America again. Just more of the football stuff. I'm starting next year.
Yeah. Whereabouts?
Miami, Florida area, or there's potential, depending on how the next month goes, that I might move to San Francisco and live with a player. For this regular season in the NFL. So
nice.
Yeah, it's the full-on intense. That's like been a dream of mine to be able to do that, to be someone's guy. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be wild times.
Yeah.
Is there a corner of the industry that you have had no interaction with that you're waiting for some sort of engagement with? I can't think of beyond Elon Musk reaching out.
But you worked at Tech.
Oh no, it's already there. It's in the works.
So I've been in the room with like the CEO of Apple before.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Just being in the Silicon Valley. Yeah, it's there. So is there an industry that I haven't? I mean, there's sports I haven't worked with a lot. Like I kind of got not thrown into, but just by default ended up in football. I've never played football in my fucking life. I was a strength coach at Stanford University for the rugby team, and that was sort of like, close enough. That'll do. Yeah. I don't work a lot with ice hockey players, and that's kind of my first love.
That's what I was going to say. That would have been where you probably came up through ice hockey yourself.
Yeah, that was really what got me into like strength and conditioning in the first place. Was just me trying to get in shape to play like hockey at a higher level. And so I had like a few. I was with the I was with a consultant for the Florida Panthers 3 weeks ago when I was in Florida, and that would be something I'd probably like to pursue, just like a childhood thing.
Yep.
But I don't think about it, man. Like I don't think about. You can't. You can't.
Yeah, 100%.
Your fucking brain
You
melts.
can't try to manifest some of the things that you can't manifest Shaq.
No, what? It's just so stupid. And I don't try
Write it in your journal every night before you go to sleep. I've been a good boy.
No, just nothing that I do right now was ever like a conscious thought. I mean, some things that have got me here have been like cerebral premeditations and like, okay, if I go here, I think if given the opportunity, I could probably capitalize on it. But yeah, dude, this is all simulation. This is no way this is real.
It's cool. It's fucking cool. And you motivate the fuck out of me.
Well, this was the
you motivate
conversation
the
we
fuck
were
out of
having.
me. You really do.
You have to do stuff. Like I hear so many personal trainers just whinging about a lack of opportunities. But it's the same as when I was in music. It's like this is just one of those industries where you're obligated just to be proactive, do the thing, and then get the reward.
Yeah.
But I think it's something you just have to be passionate about. Like every single connection I've ever had started with me in the gym. Like I don't need to tell you what I know, because a lot of times people don't fucking know what I'm talking about anyway. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm talking about. But people get effort. They get hard work, right? Like Mike O'Hearn, I reached out to him one time, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, 4:30 a.m.
Okay.
Done. No problem. Didn't sleep the night before.
Yeah.
Easy to get up at 4:30 a.m. when you don't sleep."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, most people don't show up." I was like, "Really? Most people don't show up?" Because he's like the nicest dude in the world. Like he'll text me once a month just to be like, how you been? And it's like, could you imagine not having that opportunity and just not 4:30 a.m. It's like, all right, then fucking go do something else.
Yeah.
Don't lie to yourself and think that you want to do this, because it's not hard. You know why I know? Because I fucking did it. Like I'm not smart.
Like trainers will even whinge about like making content, and like it triggers me so much because I'm like, we're one of the few jobs where you get to sit there in the middle of your day and just have this little arts and crafts project to be creative, and it can actually do crazy shit for your business. Yeah. And it's optional to engage with. And even that, people got to make content. I'm like, you get to make content.
And that's the thing, like it becomes, the more you do it becomes easier to make, not because you get an inherent skill for it, sure, but you'll end up in rooms as a byproduct of that where your content is, here's me and Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's so much easier to do. Like here's us today doing this shit. Why? Because we all at some point took a risk, stuck our fucking neck out, and just did the damn thing.
Yeah, 100%. I actually, on the content thing, at the start of lockdown 2020, I made a series of posts on what is stability, and it ended up with me and you on a Zoom call.
Did it?
Yeah.
Dude, someone was talking about this the other day. And I was like, well, you're sitting down with James Smith. Are you guys still good? I'm like, we were not good.
Well, this is what I want to... I firstly just want to apologize to you, but obviously it doesn't need an apology.
Yeah.
It's more so that I feel better about myself.
Sure.
I thought, you talk about burning boats, I thought I had burned a bridge. I was like... Jordan had done a seminar at my house, at my gym.
Might as well be at your house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, may as well. At that point, 100%. And I was like, I've just made these posts on what is stability, and then somehow we ended up on a Zoom call, and it was, yeah, and it was right at the start of lockdown with the STC Fit Boys.
Oh shit, that's right.
This is how little of a blip it is on you, but this was like a wormhole of like 6 months of me being like
living rent free.
Yeah, absolutely. I've burnt this bridge with Jordan, someone I look up to so much, because I made some posts about stability, and then we were talking about it, and I'm like, man, it's just skill, and you're like, it's stability, and we're like, and then I got off the call, and I'm like, that was a semantics chat, and I've just fucked myself. But you didn't even know, and that's the best part.
Great, yeah.
That's
I mean,
the best
put it
part.
in context, right? Like I don't know, like content to me now is I sometimes get fired up and I'm like, I'm just gonna go fucking out to dinner with my wife and play with my cat. Like, it's just, the internet is such a silly place because I've been in a room with you before, like I never thought any ill will of it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with a lot of the shit that goes on, that it's like if we were all just in a room.
Yeah.
Because eventually, and the way because I was traveling so much, it's like, dude, at some point I'm gonna be in a room with someone. Right, so it's like for me to take something and get cranked about it and just like take it personally. It's like, because I know the second you like meet up in person, like, yo, let's grab some fucking food or something, right?
Like all those YouTube beefs we used to watch back in the day, like, oh, so and so's going this expo and so and so's going to be there, and then they just go and they stand kind of apart from each other for a little bit.
That's so funny because I literally, someone like 3 days ago was like, oh, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, fucking Jamie's coming up with Angus. It's gonna be sick. And they're like, who? And I'm like, they're like, don't you guys? I'm like, what? I had no idea.
Yeah, because social media is everyone. The audience is standing around the outside perimeter. The people posting content are just inside that ring, and they're just being forced into the center. And everyone's like, fight, come on.
Yeah,
well, you're the one saying fight.
No, he's just the center of the big top circus with a microphone.
Yeah, you're in a few,
spelled it out.
You're in a few rent-free heads, I reckon.
Man.
Hey, I paid a bit of rent. I paid a little bit of a bond.
You've set up a fucking complex in a few heads, I reckon. Fully, absolutely. But yeah, I wanted to apologize, but obviously it doesn't mean anything to you, but I had to do it for my own soul. Because I thought I was like, I'm going to challenge his ideas and his philosophies through some text posts and blah, 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 and people are going to get around me. But it was just this ego fucking complex I was in at the time, thinking I could change the world.
Dude, been there. Yeah. Been there. No worries, man. Yeah, and it's still happening. It's still happening. There's still like, I get tagged and stuff like that. I don't care. I don't care. And the thing is, and I'm sure you guys are the same, the more you do in real life, the less you care how things transpire online, right? So it's just...
Yeah, I think not to say that I've achieved anything of the level that you have, but like not the come up, because I still feel like there's so much more to do, but
same.
You're very much like looking around and whatever, but you get to a point where eventually it just becomes internal and you're just like with your team, like building things. Like, as you said, like my day's writing and then I'm on calls and we're setting up operations and whatever. Like, it just becomes that self-consuming and you almost forget about what's going on around and just running your own race.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes it's hard, man. Like, because there are things where, dude, I get fucking hot under the collar. I get fucking pissed. But then it just take a look around. We get to do cool shit like this, like
absolutely
whatever. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to voice contradictory opinions. Like, I think it can be useful, because I think that probably pushed me to either double down or question myself. And either way, anytime I come across something like that, I'm not going to take it lightly. Like, I'm going to go in and be like, okay, like, because if it's not landing properly, it's my problem, right? Like, if I still believe in the fundamentals of what I'm talking about, I'm just not articulating it properly. But it's like you said, take it on yourself, right? Take it internally. So that was all. If there was anything that came in, it was probably a positive. So I'm probably as much owing of a thank you to you as you think you were to apology to me. So it's just, and that's the thing. Like, social media is a great tool, but a better master. And there's people out there just fucking getting pulled by the strings. But if you can wield social media, it's like fire. You can light up the world with that shit, but people are just too busy just trying to burn it all down. It's like, there is utility if you can read between the lines. Like, you are a great example. But I think ultimately, like, it's all about how you take it, right? But how you take is a projection on how you're looking, like what you're using the medium for.
I'm like this. I feel like I'm the exaggerated stereotype in some respects of how you were perceived, because I see you as so legit and you're everything that a trainer's meant to be. But it was so cathartic to listen to you talk about going on podcasts, setting up your tripod in Boss Barbell Club, and people are like, what the fuck are you doing? And you kind of like, this is part of like the modern practice. And like, if they couldn't even, like, if you doing it was crazy to them, then like the idea of someone like me holding space in the fitness industry and sharing content like that, like it just, it made me realize that it is okay to do that. You've just got to be comfortable enough to just break that barrier for people. And now it sounds crazy to talk about, because you can't even walk through a gym without knocking over like 2 tripods and things like that, no matter where you go.
Yeah, I mean, it'll sort itself out pretty quickly for you. Like, if you think it's doing, and you see this a lot with people who like take breaks from social media, and it's like, I set it up as something where it's like, I mean, if I don't post for a few days, I don't post about not posting for a few days.
You don't have to formalize it.
To me, it's not.
Sorry, guys.
It's not selling. It's just sharing. Like, I don't want to say I don't create content, but a lot of it is just like, if marketing is storytelling, I just want to live a really cool story. That's all I'm about. Like, I'll do stuff that I'm like, oh, like, I don't feel like doing this. And I don't do it for the gram. I do it because I'm in a place where I have an opportunity to do something cool that if I sit around with a bunch of my friends, I could tell a story about this time I walked 3 hours to a hotel in Tunisia 3 weeks ago because you don't get in fucking cabs in North Africa.
I saw that, actually.
Yeah, so it was at the time, was I thrilled about a walk through North Africa? I was like, no, probably not. But and I just think, hey, it's a good story. And like, it's just storytelling at the end of the day. So I think people get too like clung to content and engagement. It's just like the more you can just think about sharing rather than selling, it's just like, because that's what people buy. People do not buy what you know, they buy who you are.
Yeah, I think this has been a big evolution.
Great marketing conversation. Why were you in Tunisia?
Because I could.
You're working?
Right, no, it's close.
You weren't working?
No, I wasn't. No, my wife was flying there, and she was like, hey, you're not doing anything. You want to come? And I was like, yeah, I'd never do anything. I'll come. So
can't send the misso to Tunisia on her own.
What's that?
You can't send the misso
to
Tunisia.
She works all over the world, so she's just like, all right, do you want to come with? And it's like, yeah, sure, I'll go. But and that's the thing, like, previously, if I was like too stuck in my like work, that probably does more for course sales than me writing some post about whatever, bicep curl, whatever, you know what I mean? Because like the more you can know content to a certain degree, like, you know, our course material, you can know biomechanics to the degree of which it matters. And then when you get to that point, you realize it might not ever matter. And you're just like, all right, I'm just going to try and do right by the people around me, and if people fuck with that, then that'll probably lead them to me at the end of the day. So like that, being able to parse that out has been like such a, because now social media doesn't cause any stress anymore, regardless of like someone post whatever. Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. Because it's so transient, right? Like, people's attention spans, it's like fucking just gnats. Like, all right, cool, whatever, man. It's all good. I'm gonna go to wherever. It just doesn't.
And the inability to realize how quickly the others move on, and then you're the one just stuck there processing it. It's like, it is an individual battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. The whole thing is an individual battle. The evolution of your attitude towards everything, I think.
It's like, how much can you just block out all that external feedback and be like, what am I actually trying to say here? What am I trying to do?
Yeah, just put it down.
Yeah,
I think you do a great job of that.
There's no one. You consistently hit the mark. It's actually crazy.
You're fucking Teflon too, by the way. Like, it's quite admirable.
There's nobody that makes content like you. There's a few that try the text post, and it's not even text posts. It's just fucking a bit of formatting in the story thing. But you just fucking ruffle feathers. But it's in a creative way that actually makes you think and analyze. Like,
and this is what I was saying to Paddy D last week. Like, I just ripped it off him because I knew. Always believed in myself, in my ability to share ideas, but I just always fell off the wagon with producing content, because you got to sit there, you got to edit a video. But then Graham Morris introduced me to Pat Davidson, and I'm like, oh my, like, other than just the biomechanics knowledge and the training knowledge and just him being a beast, the use of social media, he didn't know how to use Instagram, and it didn't matter because of just the clear communication, just this ridiculous beach balls in the background, but then just the hottest take of all time, just this hand grenade of a text post. And I saw that, I was like, I can do that every day, and that's what I did.
It's like, I think in the same way of like, I'm a big stand-up comedy fan, predating all that training stuff, and I think of like Jon Stewart. Like, the Daily Show with Jon Stewart for me was it when I was a kid. It's how I got news. I was like into history. Like, I started studying history and political science before I got into kinesiology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like where. That was my trajectory, was like going probably to law school or down like a PhD route. And then I got into the gym and I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I like these people way better. This
is my life now.
Yeah, honestly, that was it. And so I look at Jon Stewart, because he was a political commentator, but he was also a comedian, right? He was also a satirist. So like, I think fitness takes itself too seriously and needs a bit of satire.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
that's what Ziz was for us. Like, I just never wanted to engage with fitness, but then we had this thing, Ziz, and it was just this guy who was like, I'm jacked, I'm shredded, I'm everything that everyone in fitness wants to be, but just this whole thing is trivial to me. And it just made it so much more palatable.
I think that's what fitness needs as an industry on the whole to survive and grow, is outward-facing palatability.
You see these people with no sense of humor, and these are the people who are like, hey guys, you won't see me for the next 7 days, and like, don't worry about me, everything is okay, I just want you to know that I need a break, social media is very toxic, and like, And then, like, the coaches that use social media to complain about Instagram are like, funny that you would choose Instagram to make that sort of a comment. Otherwise, no one would give a fuck because Instagram's the only platform you really have. Yeah.
I think something you've said recently, I don't know if it was directly to me or whatever, but Instagram is ultimately it's an echo chamber. It's built to be an echo chamber. People follow you because they like your stuff. They're going to communicate with it or engage with it or whatever, and it's just going to create these pillars of echo chambers up and around. Every now and then one falls out and you get a fucking debate.
People say you shouldn't post for attention. And it's like,
what?
I'm sorry. I thought this was fucking Instagram.
That's the currency we're
they're sharing the PMIDs and stuff like that. I'm like, if you want to try to turn Instagram into PubMed, you can fight it all you want. But the medium's the message.
Right.
And it's just like, allow it to be its thing. Let it be its thing. Let it be the echo chamber. There's this self-hatred. Like, oh, all my ideas are horrible. I need the critics. It's like, maybe actually what you need is someone to agree with you for once.
Yeah. It's interesting. The evolution continues. And I hope there's more personalities coming that are palatable.
Yeah, I think...
It's been dry. There's been a fucking evidence-based period where it's very dry there for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the nice thing about our industry is the fact that it's very results driven, and those results are very objective, right? Like, so I think where we're starting to see some of the shifts in this evidence base or some of these more dry characters, it's like they're playing a game that can't be verified, and this is getting really frustrating for people. It's like, if you did some 75 hard, is that a thing? 70 hard, 60 hard?
That is a thing.
Is 75?
75.
You will, if you stick to it. Even
Absolutely.
Probably 50%. If you don't train, you're probably going to be in better shape. So it's like, if you got to figure out a way to do, like, that'll parse out the wheat from the chaff real quick, right? So I think we're seeing that now, where like evidence-based is maybe maybe settling into its place, because it's not necessarily getting the results that some of these people that are just making shit up are
There's
getting.
been evidence-based gaffes, like, people say the most unscientific things under the guise of evidence or supposedly supported by data. Like, I can't even name the prick that said Nordics prevent 50% of hamstring strains.
Hilarious.
And then you look at the data set, or like the set of studies that they use to make the meta-analysis, and you're like, how the fuck did you torture the data to the point where you've convinced yourself that that's what it was? The data speaks for itself. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
We torture it
right
until it says something.
Until we make it say something, yeah.
And I think for me, this was the thing that pulled me away, because it's like, it's never going to get better than sports science, but like, we have to wield that sword appropriately. And there's so many unscientific, in my opinion, questions that people ask and that you just could never design a study for. Like, oh, how could you ever design a study that would show you the impact of one exercise on injury prevention?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a dumb study design. It's just a bad question. It's bad thinking. And it's like, and that's what the fitness industry doesn't have established. It's like our worldview and our thinking. And we're here out trying to prove all these things, but it's like, we don't even know what questions to ask yet.
But I think it just comes from a lot, and like, courage is such the wrong word, because courage used to mean something like, let's use it because there might not be a better one, but to do something without evidence or backing, like, or it maybe like to just do it from a principle, like, this works because of this. Because when I see evidence-based really taking the forefront, I just see experience taking a backseat, right? Like, if your idea with Nordics and hamstring curls, like, if you look at if you ever trained an athlete or even gone to a live sporting event, you realize how little training has to do with any of it, right? When you see someone like CC Sabathia just go fucking yard over the green monster, you're like, this guy would be passed up on the street as an athlete.
What the fuck did you just say?
CC Sabathia, yeah, like, dude, CC Sabathia, if you look up a photo of him,
What is the green monster?
So CC Sabathia was a baseball player for the New York Yankees, and this guy would just smash bombs, like home runs. And the Green Monster is the field, the far outfield in Boston, in Wrigley Field. It's very tall to hard. It's hard to hit a baseball over.
All right, there we go.
So you see some baseball players, and you're like, so when you actually go see what
happens,
or even a football game, like the contact, even like Aussie rules game, when you see these guys hit each other, you're just like, oh, they totally could have prevented that ACL tear. You're like, what? There's a dude that we were with last week and a half ago, Vita Vea. he's a nose tackle for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This guy is 6'4", 385 pounds, and inside of 10 yards, he's the fastest thing on this planet. And it's like, but yeah, no, tell me again about Nordics.
Is he Goda or Woda?
What's that?
Is he Goda or Woda?
I don't know what the second one was, but we've had to talk some people with like some pretty crazy Liz Frank fractures around getting really deep into their fifth metatarsal head in the last couple of weeks. So that's really? A whole nother. That's a technical conversation we could have, but yeah, like if the second you've trained enough people, the second you've seen enough sport or trained enough athletes, you just realize like how much of that matters. And it's like, don't get me wrong, the better the athlete or the more high impact the sport, that little small percentage is going to manifest as a lot, but it's like there's only a few cases where that depth and detail matters. So like constraining the information that's out there to what's actually applicable, so it's not blindingly and cripplingly overpowering these kids that are just like, oh god, okay, I guess line's a pull, right? Like I guess low reaches, because dude, fucking just go out and do shit. Like it's fine.
Just train the general qualities. Like the general qualities are ultimately.
But that's why people do get so stressed, because we do make ourselves over important, especially in the physical preparation sense for athletes. If you've convinced yourself that you are making athletes, making or breaking them, then getting in those weird debates about like exchanging PMIDs, I see how they can get caught up in that way more, because you're like, I'm responsible for shaping these athletes' outcomes directly, but it's like, you're just a passenger.
Yeah, no, dude. I just changed the next like little baby song. Like, that's all I do. That's my whole job. Like, just put it in perspective.
Now, so you're lucky, but you're in the middle of that debate, and then like you're about to type a really angry comment back, and then the notification from Shaq comes through and reminds you, it's like, oh yeah, I'm the man.
I got rickrolled by him one day. I was just like, what the fuck? It was like something. There's like someone got. There's some missing persons case that was like really famous in the States, and he like, and it was an interesting one. I'll fucking show it to you after. It was like obviously like the story headline was grabbing America and everyone knew about it. I'm like, why is Shaq sending me a news article? But it wasn't the Rickroll. It was. Do you guys know who Mudbone is?
Nah.
It was just like this naked guy with this, like a huge cock.
Dude, no.
So I legitimately got. So it was like I got.
He's sitting on the bed like this.
Yeah. So that's the.
Are you Shaq? Are you sure it wasn't a selfie?
So the website link that he sent me was that.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, all right. Then you just have a laugh and you're like, oh man, I was going to really tear this guy apart in a comment section, but it's like, I just got fucking mudboned by Shaq. So it's like, never mind. It's all fake anyways.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's absolutely incredible. Oh my God. We're touching on an hour here, but you're going back to America, and do you think you'll ever have a base, or are you always going to be this, I call it the nomad, the great nomad of S&C?
I don't know, man.
Are you going to slow down?
I hope not.
No.
I might die. That's a real possibility. I'm at the point now where if I die, no one will ask why. No one will ask what happened. I honestly, I don't know. I like traveling because like I wouldn't be able to sit down with you guys here if I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Right. So because I do enjoy it. It offers me some personal development stuff. Like just, you get to let a lot of stuff go when you're on the road all the time. So that's kind of cathartic. I don't want to.
Yeah.
It would take a pretty big opportunity to keep me somewhere, like something that I couldn't say no to. But even then, I don't think I could be in one place. Like the idea of a house scares me.
Are you addicted to change of environment as the catalyst for you just always growing this PreScript thing a little bit?
Oh, a little bit, a lot.
Because I'm a bit jealous of that.
I think that was the big. People like, well, it's not a great idea to ask me for my advice because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. But like, if I were to tell you, like what I think catalyzed this, it's like, yeah, just because everyone wants to work online so they can work anywhere, and we were talking about this before. But it's like if you work online, you have to work everywhere, right? So I definitely feel not like an obligation to be on the road because I do love traveling. Like even the bad shit to me is just because you just have to learn to laugh at it, right? Like during COVID. I got stopped at every single level of trying to board a flight. Like I flew back from Dubai and through Amsterdam, and then 12 days later had to fly to San Francisco. And I was like waited in a 3-4 hour queue at U.S. Customs at Toronto Airport at 5 a.m, only to reach the front of the line and then be like, "Hey, have you been in a Schengen country in the last 14 days?" I was like, You tell me, asshole. Like, you're looking at my fucking information. Like, I don't even know what a Schengen country is. And I was like, I was in Dubai, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And he's like, did you go anywhere else? And I was like, I was in like Jordan, like the week before that. And he's like, were you in? I'm like, can we just, what? Where have I been? Just tell me where I've been. I've been wherever the thing says I've been. And he's like, oh, like, were you in Amsterdam? And I took a flight from Dubai to Amsterdam and then Amsterdam to Toronto. And if you were in Amsterdam, you couldn't enter the States within 14 days. And I was 12 days. So I had to get my shit off the fucking plane, go back, cancel. I had a podcast to do in California, had to cancel that, reschedule it. And like, I was walking from Istanbul to Rome last June. I was walking down the jetway and I got a tap on my shoulder saying they just changed the rule. Canadians can't go to Rome right now. And I was like, okay. But like, dude, it's life concentrate. Right? Shit's just going to happen and you're just going to have to fucking deal with it. So I do love traveling and I don't know which is which. I honestly don't know if it's like, if I do feel this compulsion that it accelerates the business and I want the business to be successful. But it's like, I also don't know what success is because the idea of like one day it will make it. It's like, is it going to look much different than what I do now? Right?
Yeah,
like,
there's no final frame. It's just this living thing.
Yeah. And that's part of the catharsis that comes with this whole thing. So to answer your original question, will I have a home base?
No,
I don't think so, man. I think I'm just going to ride this until, because like, dude, it's such a, I understand the likelihood or like the improbability of this ever happening, right? Like I understand and I think this is where fitness cunts like just don't understand their place is they don't get luck. They don't understand luck, right? Like, and I am very aware of like just Andrew Schulz walks by my friend's motorcycle. I try to help him out. Next thing you know, I'm training this entire thing. And I'm at Akash's wedding fucking screwing light bulbs into ceilings that don't exist. Like, I get luck, and I'm not. And that's why I'm so reluctant to, like, give it. Like, we did a podcast with Kyle about, like, business. And I was just like, yeah, like, I work real hard, and I'll do stuff, and I'll go places. But, like, I fell ass backwards into so much shit. And so part of that is I don't want to fly in the face of that and try and pull back from something that is so lucky. Like how many people would kill to do and get to travel like that. And it's like, I almost like some days I don't want to do it, but it's like, dude, I owe it to some of my friends who can't get out, who work the fucking 9 to 5, who have kids. So they can just be like, yo, where you at? I was like, yeah, I'm here. So I don't know. It's tough. It's something I wrestle with a lot. Like it's hard to have normal relationships when you live all over the world. And like, so I'm lucky in that sense that the missus understands, but it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to your earlier point, like, fuck, man, like if I stop and that thing stops moving, it's like, what if it's too late to resuscitate? And just because I stopped traveling, like, oh, you didn't like airports, shut up. So it's a conversation in my head that does not stop.
Yeah. I've got one last question. Because you came back to Akash, and there was another moment there where all these things, and I'm like, nah, Jordan's on a different level. You got shouted out on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, wild.
What is that? You wake up in the morning, and you're on arguably the biggest media platform.
I don't know, man. I just... I mean, obviously the first thing you do is like, you hit them up, and you're like, yo, dude, I appreciate it. But they get to the conversation that they've had with me when we were like hanging in Florida a lot, like, yo, let's try and get you on Rogan. So both of them had. Oh,
that would be the would be the cement.
You need a thing. I'll come up with a thing for you.
You would be the guy that do it. You 100% would be the guy.
Give him the knees behind toes.
No.
I already know the owner of that
page. It's the acronym. No, I got an acronym for you.
Yeah,
it's a fully developed.
We'll talk. I got 5. Says you make it on Rogan before me. I got $5.
No, because I have this. If this what I'm doing now ever goes off the rails, then I'm going to resurface, and that thing would get on Rogan. But as long as this keeps going well, I promise I probably will never market anything that's realistically going to end up on Rogan.
I kind of want to get you canceled just to see what the next thing would be.
What the next
it'll be crazy. Goes.
Yeah.
Nah, but like I want to be able to. It'll do heavy shit to me internally.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can live with that. I might be a good person. I don't know. I'm still working it out.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But so they talked to me a few times about like trying to pull a few strings, and I appreciate the hell out of them, even for just bringing it up. Yeah. But yeah, like you wake up to that and you got 1,000 people just like reposting some guy saying your name in a room with another guy. It was pretty cool. But I think it just speaks to like, here you have a guy, and that I think is something so cool that I've learned from them is here you got a guy who, you know, is arguably in the biggest on the biggest stage of no, not arguably. It is 1,000% the biggest stage in the world.
Yeah.
And here's a guy who's kind enough, who cares enough to put you on. Like, are you fucking joking me? Do you know how rare that is?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
he just to take a breath away from talking about yourself in the biggest platform the universe has ever known. Like, and the same thing. Schulz did the same thing. Like, Schulz shouted me out probably 3 months before that. And
I missed that one.
Yeah, and it was just like, but it just goes to show you, like, you know, Akash and Schulz and them, like, they're just trying to bring everyone up. Like, that to me was like, that was the coolest thing. Like, whatever, the name in passing, don't get me wrong, it was fucking wild. Like, my dad called me and shit, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But like, to a level deeper than that is like, what type of person is that? Like, that's such a rare person that's like, here I am in this thing. Everyone is like, you've been like Rogan, like being socially knighted, and you're fucking, and you're shouting out some guy who, like, you know, you worked out with a bunch. Like, that's fucking, that was the coolest part.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fucking G right there.
It's cool. We found a good group of guys.
Yeah, dude, rock solid.
Yeah, and it was all social media. It's all clout at the end of the day. It's all
No
clout.
one wants to admit it.
It's all
Let's
clout.
go.
Comes back to clout.
Hey, that's the cover photo
There
right
we go.
there.
It's all clout, baby. I think we're done. Thank you very much. Absolutely loved it. I don't have
Pleasure.
anything else. Do you have anything?
Nah, that was really fun.
Yeah,
You wanna do
absolutely.
another one, just chat about shit. Could do that, man. I got all day.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do a part 2.
Save the rest of high performance podcast.
Okay, all right. That's where the real magic happens.
Yeah, easy. Done. Thank you.
Cheers, man.